Dynamite download.
Welcome to Dynamite Download.
Welcome back to another episode of Dynamite Download, guys. We are so excited to have you here. What a wild show. SPD and I made sure to stay away from those nasty spoilers. We are giving you the raw, live reaction. We wanted to view this as fans, watching it for the first time. And man, what a show we had tonight.
Oof.
Going in, SPD.
I know.
You know, last week's card was so stacked with names and talent on the card that I was kind of shocked at like how they could follow up this week. SPD, go ahead, throw that card up there. We had an interesting lineup this week, and quite honestly, I think for most of AEW Nation, especially those guys and gals that we're talking on social media, we are buzzing about the women's division and all the development that's been happening. And SPD, I think I owe it to you, your framework and your plan that you laid out for the women's division. They finally got Sheeta up on there. We got to hear from her as a women's champion. It was an incredible show tonight. Make sure that you click that subscribe button over there in the corner. Make sure you click that. We want to make sure that in the world of social media, it's fast, it's moving, it's quick, it's hard to keep up. You want to make sure that you subscribe to us so you can see every video that SPD, you're putting in all that work to get out for us. Really appreciate what you're doing, brother. You deserve a beer. Take a sip.
Cheers to that.
You know, and coming into this week's show, like I said, the buzz was really going into the women's division, and that with between Anna Jay and Hikaru Shida was an incredible matchup. To start the show, we saw Anna Jay's fellow Dark Order member, John Silver, who is killing it on BTE. Killing it on BTE. He went up against Hangman Page. So this was literally, as we described it on Dynamite Download Team, we were talking about this. This is the internet darlings of the world right now. You have John Silver, who everybody loves. He's hilarious. He's such a good dude. He seems like a type of guy you just want to hang out with, give a big hug to.
Would love to have him on the show one day.
What's that?
Would love to have him on the show one day.
Oh, God. Yeah, that would be such a joy. We'd be cracking up the whole time. I think he'd be having me laughing so hard. He's the man. Adam Page was also has a big following on social media. Everybody realizes he's such a cool, laid-back guy. Always comes up with those quips and those funny things on Twitter, so make sure you're following him. If you're not, he's hilarious. The other match that I was looking forward to, as you know, I've been marking out for Team Taz, and I was the guy on Dynamite Download who was campaigning for Powerhouse Hobbs to join up with Team Taz. I kept saying when Taz was courting him, Hobbs, it's just business. As you're saying, big fella, I love it. He did sign up with Team Taz, and he put a hurting on Lee Johnson tonight and made a statement. That's the type of match we want to see out of Willie Hobbs. The man put a beating on Lee Johnson. After that, we got to see dirtbag Jack Evans and Angelico go head-to-head with Top Flight, who has the world afire right now. Top Flight is killing it. They held their own again against a polished, experienced tag team. Yeah. Really an impressive match. I can't wait to talk to you, SPD, about that one. I know you're loving the in-ring style of Top Flight. I know you're going to be buzzing about that one. Speaking of that, your favorite wrestler in the whole world, your favorite wrestler of all time, Jericho, was finally in ring action again. And he was paired up with the big fella, Jake Hager, as they put down SCU tonight. I was really happy to see Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian to get a little bit more screen time. It was nice to see them go head to head with Jericho and Hager. It was a great match with some veterans in there that held their own. After that, like we talked about, Hikaru Shida defeated Anna Jay in a really surprising back and forth match. Really great overall showing in that one. Can't wait to talk about that one. And then we are going to jump right into the main event. This is becoming a theme. The way that AEW is leaving us hanging at the end of these shows, we can't go in order anymore. There's just such a buzz and so much excitement about the main event. SPD, I, as a resident Lance Archer fanboy here, somebody who really stands behind the Murder Hawk, combined with Pac, this was just, I cannot believe what transpired tonight. Help pick me up here, brother. What did you think about the way this match played out? I know that going into it, you're a Death Triangle fan. It was interesting to see Pac and Rey Fenix as a pairing, and I can't wait to see what Pac and Pentagon's going to be like, because I have a feeling it's going to be a very different style in the ring. Fast-paced, incredible action. You and I talked about this before we started up on the show. You just had to get into this one right away. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought this was an outstanding finish to a jam-packed card on Dynamite tonight. And it's really nice to see these 7 stars back in, at the main event and back in AEW, because, for so long, Butcher and Blade have been here, hit and miss, and that Eddie Kingston, the fresh new star here in AEW, and to really grow a new core, in this new Boundless season 2, essentially this new core that they need to continue the trend going. Butcher and Blade 3 weeks in a row, like we talked about last week. These 6 men, whatever battle comes ahead of us, is just going to be must-see TV. It's going to be brutal, and I'm hoping it goes on for months and months. And this curveball at the end with the Murder Hawk finally re-showing his face after losing to Mox.
I got to jump in here. I got to jump in, right? Because I've been just craving to see what's going on with Lance Archer. If you guys aren't following, like I said, you're not watching AEW Dark, or you're not following Lance Archer on social media, you're missing out on some incredible promo work. But we haven't seen the Murder Hawk monster on Dynamite. And
I know
we've been wondering, where is he going to go after his big loss, right? Mm-hmm. And this was a really interesting way for him to jump in. Now, for me, I actually, when Lance Archer had an open Q&A session, again, another reason why you should follow him on social media, he had an open Q&A session. I asked him, is he going to be joining up with anybody anytime soon? It seems like AEW's roster is starting to sort of break into these different packs, these different wolf packs, right? He mentioned he's a lone wolf, but tonight, to me, it spoke volumes, right? Throw that up there. To me, it spoke volumes. He fits right in. Everybody dies. The Death Triangle, It all works. He came to the rescue for my boy Pac and Rey Fenix as they were going head. I mean, honestly, the Butcher, the Blade, Kingston, they were putting a beating on these guys.
Oh, those DDTs on the chair. Oof.
So I interpreted the way this show ended is like, man, Lance Archer is going to be kind of working together with the Death Triangle. They're going to kind of have a thing going. You interpreted it differently. What was your takeaway with the way this show ended? I mean, it was certainly a surprise to see him come to the rescue, right?
Right. It was pretty. It kind of felt like there was going to be someone coming to the rescue with them, but honestly, it doesn't really fit their kind of style, like Pac and the Death Triangle. Like, it's them against the world, essentially. So I didn't really anticipate anyone to come in to save. But I still don't think that Archer is joining or helping out the Death Triangle. The announcers kept hyping it up because you, as an outsider, you can kind of just be like, okay, what is the point of this? And one of the Tony Schiavone might have said, he was like, how did he get attached to this situation? And they were kind of building it up, how it was like a few months ago and all this. And so there's a lot of questions that need to be answered about this for sure. If he does indeed join the Death Triangle in some form of future 8-man tag events, I'm all for it.
I'm for it.
We are big Lance Archer fans. We are ready for him to take the gold, the pretty platinum from Mox a few months ago. And unfortunately that didn't happen. And we haven't really seen him on TV too much since. He's been cutting some mean promos, him and Jake the Snake, really do some awesome stuff on the mic together. They're definitely a great combo. And I really loved, as soon as Lance came out of the ring, he did this crossbody across the ropes. I was like cracking up. I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah. To see a big fella like that flying through the air. I mean, that's another reminder. People sleep on Lance Archer because they say, he's a little older and things like that. He peaked later in his career, right? He certainly is, to be honest. Lance Archer is peaking as he gets older. He's like a fine wine, right? Yeah. And as he's getting older, he's getting better and better and better. And I think it was pretty incredible to see a big guy like that go flying through the air like that. That crossbody was awesome.
I agree.
So for me, like, I look at it like this, right? Obviously, I'm all for it. If Lance Archer starts working together with the Death Triangle. That's just like literally just putting a bunch of people that I love in a group together. That works, right? I think that's phenomenal. Everybody dies. He actually adds a little bit of size to the group, right? They don't really have anybody with size. That'd be awesome. Lance Archer can kind of be the brooding guy who they aren't necessarily recognized as a team, but they kind of work together. That would be cool with me. Otherwise, I think that it's totally all about Lance Archer kind of going after Eddie Kingston, right? I mean, to me, Kingston has a big mouth. He can seem to make some enemies pretty quickly. He kind of came onto the scene and really was ran his mouth quite a bit.
He's got quite a bounty on his head.
His ego was checked by Moxley, and we saw that happen tonight, where he had kind of even had to refer to Moxley as champ. He kind of gave him his nod of recognition. I think that Lance Archer kind of might have a bone to pick with Eddie Kingston, with the way that he came in, the way that he disparaged the Murder Hawk, the way he talked up about how he's going to be the one to take out Moxley. I think that could be an interesting next feud. Obviously, there's a lot that needs to be explained, like you talked about, SPD. This one left me with the jaw on the floor, wondering what's going to happen going forward. Obviously, we were excited about just the Death Triangle going against Kingston's family, but throwing the Murder Hawk in here, it's getting crazy. There's a lot of moving parts, and like you said, Eddie Kingston's got a bounty on his head, and it's fun because he can really talk the talk, and he can pretty much walk the walk too. And then with Butcher and Blade, backing him up, it's going to be some great battles. Let's jump into the match, right? You and I are just geeking out over how the way the show ended, and for good reason. I think that AEW fans should be buzzing about this. You have Pac back. Right. You have the Death Triangle back, right?
Yeah, officially.
And now you have Kingston, and I think everybody is in agreement. The Butcher and the Blade and the Bunny, that those three, their entrance is incredible. The way that their physicality is. I mean, the Blade is shredded. The Butcher is a big beast. Man, that guy is fun to watch at all times. Incredibly entertaining. So
I agree.
You have all these guys that you're invested in. And then you throw Lance Archer in. I mean, this is a scenario where we literally look at the personalities involved, whether it's in-ring work. You have workhorses like the Blade, like Ray Phoenix, who can do things that no one else can do. Pac, who literally is the man that gravity forgot. Penta, and Eddie Kingston, the chop battles that we're going to see there, right? You have so much in store here that I think no matter who you are as a fan, no matter what style of wrestling you like, no matter where you come from, this is the type of feud that's going to have you hooked. I mean, if you like the big guys, you can have the Butcher, you can have Lance Archer. There's something for everybody. And I think that's so reflective of AEW. Speaking of that, something for everybody. This match is that type of match, man. Like, it was brutal with some of those back and forth battles we got to see the continuation of last week where Pac and Blade went at each other. I said it last week in last week's show. If you missed that match, go back and watch it. Those two guys were going at each other. There was a really nice blend of styles. I mean, you have a guy like the Butcher in the match and then a guy like Phoenix in the match. You couldn't have two bigger polar opposites. What was your take on the match itself, SPD?
I thought both in a card that was stacked of tag team matches, they looked very good, and you can tell how polished Butcher and Blade are as a tag team. And honestly, like Pac and Phoenix looked really well together. They meshed really well together. They're hitting on cues together. Very high energy, very different, but both styles meshed really well together. I thought the match itself was, it wasn't the best match of the card, but there's not taking away anything of it. The whole storytelling, the whole physicality of the match was great. And to me, what was happening during the match, before the match, I mean, they started fighting right away. And
I love that.
Yeah,
I loved that.
It's an elite for me.
Yeah, I loved when the Big Butch and Blade, they didn't wait. They went out and they just attacked them on the stage. That was a great touch. Really like that. Not surprised to see this get a lead out of USPD. I mean, these are some guys that you've been banging the drum, for a long, long time. You're a big Lucha Brothers fan.
Yep.
Been really wanting to see them featured more. I know that you've been pushing for them to get a chance at the World Tag Team Championships.
They will.
This is almost even better than that, right? Like they don't need the tag team championships right now. The Young Bucks are certainly busy on their own, doing their own thing, and that's a great little setup that they have right now, giving back to a younger tag team. But between if you put the Butcher and the Blade and the Lucha Brothers in a match together, guys, I'm a big fan of tag team wrestling. I think that's what really makes AEW special is their tag division. They continue to add to it. But this is another example, SPD, where I was just talking about the Death Triangle. If they start to play off of that trios type of role, there's a buzz on social media. I know the fans are waiting for another AEW show to come out. But a trios championship would be really fascinating, given all the groups that they have in this company, given all the talent that they have that's paired up. Think about, like I said, I watched this match, and again, Butcher and the Blade, those guys are phenomenal. They're powerhouses. They're so smooth together, and their styles really, there's such a good platform for other wrestlers. The Blade is like the prototypical wrestler that you would build in a video game. He's just perfect
of course.
in that regard.
Best stash in the biz.
Perfect. Yeah. Beautiful stash. And I like the haircut too up top. It's good. But beyond that, right, I was watching this because as a Pac fan, I wanted to see how he and Phoenix gelled together, right? Very rarely is Pac the second fastest guy in a match.
True.
Right? As an athlete like him, the burst that he has, he's incredibly explosive. But he was paired with a guy in Phoenix who is literally an Olympic level acrobat. Things that 6'1", where he kind of Butch tossed him into the ropes and he kind of did a 619 back into a back spinning kick to Butch's face. That was incredible stuff right there. And it was smooth as silk. Only a few people in the world can execute stuff like that as smoothly as Phoenix did. So I was interested in watching this, and this is why it gets such an elite out of me, is I was interested in watching this from a stylistic standpoint, right? Pac and Phoenix as part of the Death Triangle is going to be a very, very, very different pairing than Pac and Penta. And I'm excited to see how Pac and Phoenix came up short tonight. Not necessarily their fault. We know that Eddie Kingston got involved, which not a shock, right? But Kingston got involved. They came up short. I have a feeling if Penta and Pac get a chance to go against the Butcher and the Blade, they will not come up short. Your boy Penta is not going to I don't think that Kingston's going to want to get involved if Penta's in the match, if you know what I mean. I don't think he wants any part of Penta.
I completely agree with that. And it's really, Kingston and the Butcher and the Blade are really solidifying themselves as the true heels of this feud. We've talked about how good of a heel Pac is, and we don't want to see him as a baby face, but it's going to naturally grow to that. Unfortunately, I feel like, I guess we won't be mad about that because this feud is dynamite no matter what. So that was great main events, outstanding main event, and the whole card was jam packed. And got to go right back to the beginning now.
Exactly right. And before we jump into the beginning of the match, the beginning of the show, the reason why Pac 2 will work as a babyface, again, I'm gonna go on the Pac rant. All right, it's easy to like him, even though he's he's like a honey bat, right? He's like this smaller underdog type of guy, chip on his shoulder, angry as hell. But his offense is so exciting to watch.
Yes.
And my favorite part of this match was when he was getting the shit kicked out of him. And I love Pac, but when he was getting the shit kicked out of him by Butcher and Blade, the way he sells, and again, as a lifelong wrestling fan, you guys got to watch this type of stuff. When you go back and you watch, the way Pac sells, his body is like, you could tell he's like limp, right? He sells his whole body feeling like it's broken, like he's barely able to stand up.
Right.
The man does wonders in the ring. He's just an incredible athlete. He's very, very good at this. And not to cut him short, right? But the personality is what makes some people so special. And that's where John Silver steps in. going into the beginning of this show, if you put a side by side between Pac and John Silver, they look like very similar guys, right? Smaller in stature as far as height, incredibly jacked. Johnny Hungy is jacked to the gills. But what really makes John Silver so exciting and really has given him a chance to stand out on the scene in such a stacked roster is that guy's personality. The man is so funny on screen. SPD, you always say silver equals gold, right?
That's right. I completely agree. Silver equals gold on BTE, on Dynamite. And I was listening to the AEW Unrestricted podcast, and Tony Khan, because of BTE, this is where he really got eyes on John Silver and was pushing for him to do this on Dynamite because it's such a good gimmick and his natural personality is great.
That's a great point by you. That podcast they talked about, Tony mentioned this is a showcase of two guys that really developed their character that we see at current on BTE, right?
Yeah.
Tony Khan talked about the beer drinking, jaded, like sort of totally drunk version of Adam Page. That came of itself, the jaded kind of drunken millennial cowboy, that happened on BTE. And Tony was exposed to that. And then now John Silver and his incredible sense of humor and his way to steal the show anytime that he's on the show, to steal the spotlight, to make people laugh, to be willing to make himself look awkward and uncomfortable and just be weird in order to make other people happy. That's a unique talent in a person. In a day and age where so many people are so caught up in trying to look cool or to try to like feel like they're the ones who has it all together, Johnny Silver is the opposite. That guy is just willing to laugh at himself and be awkward and uncomfortable in order to make you happy. And that's pretty cool. That's what I love about the guy. He doesn't take himself too seriously. It's pretty sweet. This was a great matchup, and it was kind of thrown in there last second by Tony going into Dynamite this week, but we were happy to see it. SPD, what are your thoughts on Hangman going against John Silver and the way that match ended? Again, this is a common theme. SPD, I want you to get into this too when you talk about this match. This was something you pointed out last week. It feels like after every match, every segment, AEW is leaving us a little breadcrumb, and another breadcrumb, and we just want to keep coming back for more and more and more. At the end of this match, we got to see a really interesting development. Before we get to that, what was your thoughts on how we got there? How was the match? How did it stand out to you? Rate the overall segment to you. Was it an elite or delete?
I thought it was an outstanding opening. Obviously there wasn't too much build to the match itself other than little bits of here and there, random bits they've had over the course of Dynamite and all that. But I thought the match in and of itself was outstanding. The Meat Man, as they kept saying on commentary, Johnny Silver, the Meat Man, which is, I don't know where they're getting that from. But I thought his in-ring ability has really, I've seen some of his stuff on the independents and videos, him taking on other, brands, top stars that are currently on other
yeah, even his match against Brian Cage, if you can catch that on.
Oh yeah, I did see that one as well,
right?
First he takes on OC on Full Gear, and now he's taking on Hangman on Dynamite. He's proven, like I said in a tweet that'll pop up, that he can hang with the best, and he deserves it. He is reminding me of the way he gives those low kicks. It's kind of Daniel Bryan-esque, and I'm a huge Daniel Bryan fan.
Wow, props to him. That's high praise.
Those kicks that Hangman was taking was just echoing through the freaking stadium. You could just hear him thumping. And Silver, man, he was just bringing the pain. The chop battle that those guys had was outstanding.
The red chest afterwards, man. Johnny's chest was red, man.
Yeah, they were both taking some good punishment there. That's absolutely
Johnny doesn't have the
sure.
tan that Hangman has, and you could really see those red welts were forming on his chest, man. I felt for him.
Right. Like I said here earlier, or hanging with Orange Cassidy and now Hangman Adam Page. These are two top stars in AEW right now. And for John Silver to be hanging with these guys, and clearly he's proven himself time and time again. And I'm happy for him, and I can't wait to see more of him. The match, Hangman, it was nice to see him back in the ring as well. I'm always in awe when he can do that shooting star press, the running shooting star press. And I think that's an outstanding move. I really do like his finisher as well.
The buckshot lariat's one of the best finishers in the business right now.
Yeah. I agree. And so this match to me definitely was an elite. It was a high energy. It showed a lot of strength in both guys, and it's great to see both guys back on Dynamite. So it is for sure an elite.
Yeah, you can keep that up there too. I'm normally, I used to be pretty hard on the Dark Order, but I've come around quite a bit. I've become quite a fan, and I'm into what I'm seeing, especially from John Silver. A lot of people have gotten into Orange Cassidy, and I think that there's something organic and authentic about how Orange Cassidy got over.
Mm-hmm.
That I'm starting to see the same type of patterns happen with John Silver. I'm seeing the same type of, natural groundswell of support just based off of the commitment to his character and his sense of humor, right? And he's incredible.
He's very likable.
The one thing I'll say too that I think that works even more in John Silver's favor than Orange Cassidy's is just that Silver has that natural. He can go into a match. Yes, he has that comedy side of him, but it was real quick. He got a couple hits. He got a couple hits from Hangman, and he snapped in right away. It didn't take him a while to get involved or invested in the match. And I think that's something that you can really start to notice about Silver is, he's funny and he's got that like laid back kind of like goofy sense of humor, but he takes this really seriously. Like this is his livelihood. Like you could tell when he's in the ring, that dude is going all out. If you watch him, like his tag match with Reynolds, they are
good.
They're good together, dude.
Yes.
They're really good. They're polished and smooth. And they like their offense flows really, really well together. I think they're one of the more underrated aspects of the Dark Order. Obviously, Preston Vance is really polished as far as a look and his style in the ring. The guy is perfect in that regard. But when you see Silver and Reynolds together in the ring, man, those two seriously have chemistry, and it shows. Whenever they're in the BTE segments together, those two just seem to naturally work really well. The recruitment specialists are legit. I love this matchup, and honestly, after the way things ended, I'm really curious to see what's going to happen with Hangman Page. Is this when we start to see the Brody Lee come back?
That would be a great feud.
Before Brody got involved with Cody, there was a lot of stuff where Brody and Hangman had some things where Brody wanted to get Hangman into the Dark Order. Again, if you go back in BTE history, the recruitment specialists were sent to go get, and they tried to get Adam Page. So this is certainly interesting. Are they striking while Adam Page while he's at his weak point, right? He lost to Kenny Omega recently, right? He got all the way up and he went head to head with his tag team partner who doubted him and proved him he basically proved himself right, that all the doubts that he had in Hangman Page were all valid. He beat him. He's not as good as Omega. So you got all these things running in Hangman's head, and he's drinking whiskey. When you're drunk and you got negative thoughts in your head, a cult doesn't sound so bad, right? So
that's true. I mean, that would be an interesting feud because Hangman really doesn't have too much going on right now, and we definitely miss Brody Lee. And not to be a huge Dark Order mark, but just looking at them on stage, you really don't see too much. But when they get in the ring, they're really a wow factor. Like as you just said, last night on Dark, Silver and Reynolds had an outstanding match and an awesome, smooth, fast finish that they did. And then Stu Grayson and Evil Uno, those guys are fun to watch in the ring too.
Oh yeah.
And so you talking about
not
these guys
to keep going, but I know that you're a Seidel fan. Matt Seidel went up against Five, and honestly, Five had a great match with him. Five and Seidel is a pro, and that's a bit. I mean, Seidel hung in there with Cage. Seidel had a great match with Kingston. And dude, that match against Five on Dark was legit. It was a good match. So I think that there's some stuff to be said for that. I think the Dark Order is starting to show that they have some legs to them, and we will get their biggest match later on tonight. We'll get into that. But before we get there, really that women's title match with Anna Jay and Hikaru Shida, there was another women's segment on the show that caught my eye. The Nyla and Vicki promo. really interesting. This one kind of came out of nowhere, right? Nyla lost recently at Full Gear, and we haven't really heard anything out of her or Sheeta since.
Right.
So both were on the show tonight. And I don't really know. I got a question. Where is this going? I know that we both recognize Vicki is a great pairing with Nyla. We think that Vicki's a phenomenal mic piece, and Nyla is a unique talent that needs to be showcased. So it's a great pairing. But where is this going? And obviously you saw there was a tie into the storyline with Brandy Rhodes. What's going on here?
I am wondering the same thing. And then they didn't address the whole thing that happened at Full Gear where, Vicki walked out on Nyla essentially and the big fight that they had at Full Gear. So,
right.
Like everything's back to normal. So, like we've talked about week after week, it's nice to have these other promos to build off the core division, which you need Nyla to build off of. And that 1-2 punch of Vicki and Nyla,
recognizable stars, right?
It is outstanding. And, if they just keep pushing that, they can do a promo every week, and just as long as they're staying fresh and relevant and showing face, it's going to keep growing. But I'm not sure where they're going to go with it. It'll be interesting.
And I was really, in my first reaction to it, I was kind of questioning why this was on the show. And not to be overly critical, right? But it was such it ended up being more of a jam-packed show than I thought it was going to be. It was so
definitely
packed and so fast-paced. I kind of wondered where it was going. But as we talked about at the beginning of the show, maybe my mind's just kind of focused on that. But we talked about at the beginning of the show in the main event, the formation of groups, right? The formation of a wolf pack with Lance Archer and potentially the Death Triangle and Kingston's family. And then in the last, we just talked about John Silver and the Dark Order offering Hangman Page a spot in the Dark Order. There was definitely talk and there was definitely some, I think, foreshadowing that Vicki is creating a women's group. And I think that maybe Jade, it might be in that group. I think that, there might be Jade, and can you imagine if Jade and Nyla are on a team with Vicki as manager, right? Could you have two stronger, more powerful women in that division? No. Go take a look at Jade's Instagram page and tell me you wouldn't get your butt kicked by her. Let's be real. Like
beast mode.
She is a freak, dude. Like, wow. You put her and Nyla together. I mean, that's like the Will Hobbs and Brian Cage of the women's division. It is
very, very good comparison.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, just they could do some damage to people, man. Like, I wouldn't want to be against them, right?
No,
so
absolutely
I think that if Vicki's headed in that direction, I think that it adds a little bit more push and punch to her promo where she's calling Brandy out. Okay, so Brandy's surrounding herself with Red Velvet, and who's like not to be mean to her, but like her win-loss record, I don't even know if she has a win right now. I mean, it's one of the worst in the company. Brandy is surrounding herself with people who, right? Like, and if Vicki's got Nyla on one shoulder and Jade on another, all of a sudden Vicki starts, when she's calling Brandy out for being a poor businesswoman, it starts to have a little bit more truth to it, right?
Absolutely.
So, to me, I found, now that like we're talking to SPD, you and I were spitballing on the show, right? I'm starting to come around to this, and I'm starting to get a little deep about it. So
very intriguing for sure.
I think that keep your eyes on it. Start watching them on social media. See if they start hinting at something like that. I really have a feeling we might be in for like maybe a team Vicki, and there could be some beatings in store.
I think it would be great. It would be great. Get some squash matches and just constantly have this presence. Have this Team Taz-esque presence to them.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Speaking of squash matches and speaking of Team Taz, my guy Willie Hobbs, the newest member of Team Taz, the big fella, the powerhouse, just put a beating on Lee Johnson. I mean, and he called it, he just kept saying it's business. It didn't seem like it was business. That looked personal. He put a beating on that kid. And it was to the point where you felt bad for Lee at points in the match.
You did.
Go ahead, SPD, take it away. Tell me, what are your thoughts on this, man?
I love that. So I guess we're going to be rebranding him as Powerhouse Hobbs, and I think that's an outstanding name for him. And nothing against the Will Hobbs, but the Powerhouse Hobbs just makes him even more tough. I loved this photo right here, supporting the orange and black, the new get up, and very Taz-esque, with the cutoff shirt like that.
I liked
And
that.
so this is exactly what needed to happen. He has a new look, a new attitude, and he looked very polished in the ring. Even though it was a complete beatdown, he looked very comfortable in the ring. And being such a green performer, this is a perfect fit. More and more that I am seeing this week after week, it's just an outstanding fit with Team Taz, and exactly the way he should have been booked after the turn last week. And the orange and black trunks and everything, it was great finish. And after the match is even more to talk about. But what did you think of the match first before we dive into what happened after?
Yeah, this is what I was calling for. Like, as soon as I saw what happened, as soon as Hobbs joined Team Taz, I was like, all right, let's embrace the squash match. Let's just bring it in. Let's make Will Hobbs, because really, again, the guy is such a natural baby face, right? His story, where he came from, how hard he fought to get to where he is, like, you want to root for him. But the more you put him in these situations, right, where he's beating down guys who are a third his size and humiliating people and jawing with the crowd the whole
Right.
time, the more you're gonna start to naturally start to hate the guy.
Yeah.
And I think that it's good that they're playing off of maybe conflicted emotions of Hobbs. He obviously struggled to make that decision. It took him some time.
Right.
So I like that they're doing that, right? But to me, this was exactly what it needed to be. And that's why it gets an elite, right?
Yeah.
Was it this 5-star classic match? Absolutely not, right? It wasn't supposed to be. This was supposed to be a showcase for Powerhouse Hobbs, and it was a showcase for Powerhouse Hobbs. That said, really, this was the framework for a showcase of Team Taz and Taz in general. The post-match interview and segment that Taz had,
I know.
And again, I don't want to overstate things, because I don't want to get into the habit of just like saying everything is the most memorable moment and whatever. But for Team Taz, they've had some moments in the course of their group's history already. They've had some real moments that have been defining moments that you think like, wow, they're making a statement. This was a turning point for that group. This was a turning point for Team Taz. This night was a turning point for the way that I think we're going to approach this group. Between Taz's promo and segment with Cody and Ricky Stark's promo later on in the night, this was truly, you achieved something that few people can in one show. And that is establishing a group's power, establishing a group's mission, and establishing a group's framework to get that mission completed going forward. These guys are not going to lay down. Taz has made it known that he's ready. And I mean, you add the personal side to this now, SPD. I know that this was one of those moments, this back and forth segment between Cody and Taz, two guys that you absolutely admire and respect on the mic. Give me your thoughts on that, because I have a feeling this is one of those where you had chills and you maybe were stopping to pause and want to catch more. This is two guys that I know you really have hold in high regard on the mic.
Yeah, you touched on some really heavy topics and some heavy points there, and it was outstanding points of view. Before I dive into it, that brought me a good idea. We should, on our Dynamite download, do 2 separate polls this week. Who do you think is the best on the mic in AEW, and who is the best faction in AEW?
I love it.
You're talking that, so stay tuned for that. We're definitely going to be doing that. I mean, we got for factions, we got Team Taz, we got the Nightmare Family, we got the Dark Order, we got the Elite, we got so many. Who's the best? The Death Triangle. You go. I mean, and then you got on the mic.
The Inner Circle. You didn't even mention
Inner Circle. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
how quickly I'm not forgetting about them. Definitely not forgetting about them. But I mean, Cody and Taz right here, two of the best on the mic in AEW and in the biz. And the past couple months with Taz, Team Taz is skyrocketing. Their stock is
Unbelievable.
skyrocketing
Yeah.
faster than anyone else on the show. And at first I was like, I mean, I'm believing this. This whole thing is so believable with them cutting the mic,
It
with
was
the commentators grabbing the other mic, him yelling at Justin Roberts, and then finally Cody coming out with the headset. Like, it was 100% believable. I'm like, is this real? Is this an unscripted? And then I think, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the first time we've seen Taz put hands on anybody in all of, ever since he's been in AEW.
Yeah, for
And
him to throw on the Taz mission
it
on
makes
Cody.
sense. And, because to cut that low to his son and to make it even more real, it made sense for him. He's not, you can't go away just kind of with your head hung low. You got to fight back. And I thought overall, this was an outstanding segment that was unexpected for sure. You're
Yeah.
talking about the FTW belt, and I know Cody on Twitter and everything with social media was like, he doesn't get it. He doesn't like this belt and all that. And I kind of agree with that. But now you're going to kind of make it more meaningful, because it's just this belt that's been around Brian Cage's waist, who is an absolute beast and machine, but he hasn't defended it. He hasn't done much with it. It's just this, essentially, the ring that MJF wears that you kind of see sometimes, and it doesn't really mean anything. And then now
That's a
they're
good
going to
point.
bring some meaning to this belt next week. And I love that line by Cody, how his son Hook, Taz's son Hook, is training with him and not Taz. And that was just the, tipping point. If I was in Taz's shoes, I'd be throwing bows too, left and right, man. This was a fire segment.
Cody went for the jugular, right where the neck tattoo is. He went right there for it, man. That was something else. Honestly, it's not what I was expecting out of Cody.
No,
he
I
pulled
agree.
no punches in that one. But maybe that's because Taz has been such a loudmouth on Twitter, man. Oh my gosh. I mean, there's only so many times the bear can get poked before the bear lashes out, right? So
that's true.
I mean, I understand Cody's anger and how he kind of snapped back at Taz there. And for me, I never looked at the FTW belt that way, but I get where you're coming from. It's more of like an ornament at this point. For me, I was an ECW fan growing up in a lot of ways. I snuck and watched tapes and stuff like that when I was younger, and before YouTube was around. And I always had a lot of respect for Taz and the legacy that he's had. And then you follow Taz's career after ECW, and you see what he's done as far as podcasting. His commentary work is incredible. Anytime that he's on the commentary booth, honestly, he's one of my favorites on the commentary booth.
I agree. Me too.
He adds so much to it. I really love his approach to commentary, and I think that that is a future for him if he ever wanted that. But for me, I always kind of had respect on the FTW title. I always kind of put that because of what he did, because he's not wrong. There were countless battles that we could go back and watch Taz defend the FTW championship. So that said, if you're Cody and you're looking at it through the lens of management, as he put on tonight, it doesn't mean anything in the sense of AEW. It's not a recognized title.
Right.
They don't defend it. And this is where I have to say, if you're going to be the FTW champion, my idea is that belt should be defended every single time that guy is in the ring. Make it a belt where, I mean, in your own way, it can be like a extreme championship belt where any rules go, but anytime that person is involved in a match, they lose, they hand over the belt. It's always defended, defended. But to me, it's like, if you are the FTW champion, you have to, it's a mindset, right? Taz talks about the FTW mindset. Well, that's like, you got to bet on yourself. Every single day, you got to bet on yourself if you're the FTW champion.
That's true.
That's got to be what you represent. And I feel like if they put that emphasis on the title, if they put that respect on the title, where, listen, this is the only title that's defended every single week or every single time the champion's in the ring, that I think will help distinguish the belt. And I think it'll also help, because you and I have talked about this. This roster is so stacked.
Yes.
There are so many guys, and you talk about the different people all over social media. I know you guys as fans, you have so many different people that are your favorite, right? That you think are underrated or underappreciated, who don't get a title shot. I could rattle off 10, 15 guys right now
I
that I would
agree.
love to be going after the world championship or the TNT title, but there's only 2 belts.
That's right.
There's only 2. And so if you get the FTW championship and you actually recognize that as something that is worth and defended, like you said, SPD, defended, you start having something for other guys to work towards. Like if Brody Lee's not in the TNT championship picture or the world championship picture, put him in that. If Lance Archer is not a guy who you feel you're going to put the world championship on, he had his opportunity. You're not going to get that, right?
Yeah.
He still is somebody who should be on your show every single week, and he should.
I agree.
Feared. Have him go after the FTW, right? There's so many people that could rattle off, right? I can do that. But that's because this roster is stacked. Having another title that would be recognized is not a bad idea. It's really not. I think that Taz, we might like in 6-8 months from now, we might be rewinding to this show and thanking Taz for beating Cody's ass and demanding that they put respect on the FTW title, because we need that. We need another title in this company.
I agree. Yeah. Good point.
So honestly, SPD, we're talking about powerhouses, right? We're talking about Powerhouse Hobbs. When I think of powerhouses in the AEW, Miro is one of the first guys that come to mind. The dude is in the best shape of his entire career. And, he had quite an interesting segment this week. Just last week, I talked about how Kip Sabian was starting to warm up to Kip Sabian. Man, what is it? 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
Yeah.
This segment tonight, this feud is unfortunately just going nowhere fast. I want to give it an opportunity. I want to like it, right? Because I like Miro a lot, and I think that Kip Sabian's actually kind of funny. Best friends, they're not my cup of tea. I know that there's a lot of people who love him, but I love Trent. I think he's really good in the ring. But I don't know where this is going. I don't know where this is going. And I think that they got to wrap this one up sooner than later. The segment fell flat for me. And I know that, there's so many talented teams in the tag division that you need to have the best friends on TV. You need to have them doing something. They lost to FTR recently, so it's not necessarily, and they don't fit against the Young Bucks, right? They're 2 teams that everybody loves, right? So they're not a good fit against the current champions. So you got to have them doing something. But man, it just was not, to me, buddy. It was not a segment that I was blown away by. I just feel like it was a little rudderless. It just didn't know where it was going, and I just don't know where this feud is going, honestly. That said, a main reason why they have to keep the best friends occupied is because there's so many teams that are on the tag team circuit right now in AEW. And we just added a brand new one that has so much of potential and upside. Has everybody buzzing about them. Everybody's intrigued by these two kids. Top Flight again showed out against a veteran tag team in tonight's show. SPD, this tag division is just so freaking loaded that when we have a team like TH2 come back on Dynamite, we forget, because we haven't seen them in so long. We forget how good they are. And now then you add a team like Top Flight. I literally was on social media this week, buddy, and I had people I saw people complaining that AEW hired Top Flight because the division is too loaded with tag teams. Since when is it a bad thing to have a lot of good talent? I just don't understand that. This division is loaded, and this was a great example of why this tag division is so much the foundation of AEW success. SPD, what were your thoughts on this matchup between 2 teams that really their styles meshed, I thought, pretty well tonight?
As a Detroit Red Wings hockey fan, when there was no salary cap, when they could just buy any player they wanted, I was the happiest guy alive. The championships kept rolling in. In my lifetime, I've seen 4 Stanley Cup championships. And AEW, if they have a blank check, by all means, roll them in. Yes, unfortunately, you're not going to feature some of your favorites. Like, I do like Luchasaurus or, and some other tag teams like that. And so yes, you have an issue there, but more to come. It is just, you create this deep roster that you're going to have, and there's no reason to complain. These Top Flight kids are amazing, and I'm going to cheers one of them because only one of them is 21 for that.
I know.
And the overall, can't cheers and not take a sip.
Sorry, bad form.
As I tweeted to Top Flight, they got it all. I mean, right now, their entrance, their look, obviously they're a little green. They can do some fine tweaking, but overall, they have what it takes. And I'm very happy for them. And, props to them for, being all elite and getting signed to them. Some of the highlights of the match that I noticed, was the drop kick from Darius from the top rope was brutal. And, they're not phoning it in. They are definitely, all out. And then the tandem moves that they have, the tandem moves from the ropes, where he did the flip over the rope and then a tope suicida and all this, I don't even know. It was so much action going on, and it was outstanding. And Excalibur said it the best, that AEW has the deepest tag team division in all of pro wrestling. And what is wrong with that? That is just growing. I love tag team wrestling. You love tag team wrestling. And it gives more stars a chance to shine. It's giving Jericho a longer shelf life, to have, we'll talk about that later, but it's an exciting way to run a show. And what do we have? 3 tag matches on the show tonight. And it was very smooth. Like I said here in the tweet, it's a tag match between Top Flight. They have it all. They got a good look, a great entrance, and they can hang with the best teams in the biz. I mean, back to back, you get Young Bucks, your TV debut, and then TH2, who you said we haven't seen in a while, and I've always been a fan of them. They are very high energy, a great unique style, 2 different.
Love their entrance.
Yes, I love their entrance. Just the smooth walking. It's almost like
is awesome.
Oh yeah. Overall, great team.
Yeah,
overall, the match was an elite for me.
I love it. I think we're on a roll here. It was an elite for me as well, man. I was a big fan. I've been really. I forgot how much I was sleeping on TH2. I was always a fan of Jack Evans before he came to AEW, and I didn't know much about Angelico, to be honest with you. But as I see them more, I love Jack Evans' personality. I think he's hilarious. I think that he's one of the best dirtbags in the business. Just when he leans into that, he's so good at it. And I've been really impressed by the way that Angelico is kind of serving as the base of that team. The guy is – there's only – Jack Evans' offense is so high risk that you have to have a guy who kind of helps – keep the flow of a match moving, right? You can't always be so in over the top and always in your face with that kind of action all the time. You just can't. You have to have a base. And that's why the Lucha Brothers work so well, is because Penta is more of kind of like the striker and the physical one, and Phoenix is the high flyer, right? And that's what I like about this team, is we got to see a lot of that tonight out of Angelico. Is you got to see a lot of submission work out of him. You got to see a lot of, keeping Top Flight, a young, athletic, fast team, grounded. He kept working on the legs, and it ended up paying off at the end of the match. I thought that was really brilliant strategy by veteran leadership, and the commentary team really pointed that out.
Right.
Veterans took out the young team, and yes, these youngsters have a bright future. But as Jack Evans has been hammering over and over again, there's something to be said for guys who can stick it out for a long time.
That's right.
Anybody can get a shot. Anybody can get a shot, but if you can stick it out for years and you can last on the scene for a long time, that speaks volumes. So I'm on Team TH2's bandwagon here, man. I'm loving what I'm seeing out of them. I'm excited.
I am too.
And I think that there'll be an interesting matchup against the Young Bucks. I mean, they would not have been my first pick on the roster for a matchup against the Young Bucks, but I'm excited. I'm interested. I think that match is going to actually be pretty entertaining and fun. And obviously, when it comes to Top Flight, I really do think that these guys, their future is so – I mean, honestly, I don't want to go overboard, but when I watch them, it's pretty incredible to see how smooth they are in the ring. And like you said, man, they're not just doing pretty offense.
Right.
They are leaning into hits. Like, they're getting these chops, man. They're physical kids, man. They're not like pulling back, and I can respect that, right? They're getting their shot and they're going all in. They're going after it. They're chasing that dream. And you could tell they're not holding anything back. And so that's what shows when they're on screen. If you're giving it your all, we can tell as an audience. We know when you're laying it all out there, when you're giving it your very best. We can see that, and it comes through in their work, man. It absolutely comes through in how they roll out there in the ring. And it's not a surprise that they can hang with these more experienced tag teams with that mentality.
I agree. And it's going to be congratulations to them, and it'll be a fun journey to watch them develop and grow. They're in good hands. I mean, they got the Young Bucks, they got Matt Hardy, they have Jericho, they have some great mentors, SCU ahead of them. So I think they're in absolute best hands they can possibly be, and the sky's the limit with them.
Yeah, agreed. That said, they got a long way to go before they become FTR. And FTR, and I say that as a diehard FTR fan, man, was it nice to hear these guys back. I know that we talked about some hiatuses that had happened after championship matches at Full Gear. We haven't heard from my favorite tag team in all of wrestling.
I know, they were pretty silent.
Of their title. Their tag titles, they lost them to the Young Bucks, and really in a match that was bigger than the tag team titles. This match was a dream match. This was a match that they had tweeted about back when this match could have never even happened. And, they lost that match. They came up short. And so for me as a fan of FTR, I had a lot of questions, and I wanted to see where their heads were at. And I wanted to see, how they would respond. And in typical FTR fashion, they did not disappoint. I thought that they delivered in that promo.
It was heartfelt. It was meaningful. It was, slamming the table. This is what I hate. This the championship. And so it was a perfect promo in its place, and told a story.
Yep.
And it'll be interesting where they go from here, because, I don't know what you do from here, but I'm just happy to see them back. They're too good of a team, too important to the division to not be shown or focused, on at least every other Dynamite. Obviously it would be nice to see them every week, but
yeah, the roster's so loaded. I get that. For me, it'll be interesting to see how they react to a team like Top Flight getting the recognition that they're getting, given that their whole motto is no flips, just fists.
Right.
So
that'd be a great match.
That could be a really nice little segue into a feud with those guys. Just, you got these two young kids who, again, they could lead. The FTR could talk about how much, we know they are all about old school. They're all about tradition. They're all about respecting the past and honoring the legends and sort of the people who had laid down the framework. And they try to model their careers off of the forefathers of the business, right? So I have a feeling that could be a really nice little segue. That could be a really cool little back and forth feud of two teams that are very different in where their mentalities and philosophies are when it comes to wrestling. Very different points of their career. That could be a really nice little segue. Maybe FTR cost them a tag title shot, or we'll never see. We never know. I'm sure AEW has all sorts of things up their sleeve. Cannot wait to see what Dax and Cash have up their sleeve. Tully was actually really engaging in this promo too. I thought it was really nice, really well done. Kind of had an old school feel to it, which is not surprising. I love the smoke, kind of that that background atmosphere that they set. Fear the Revelation. I think that's going to be something that we are in store for later on down the road. Cannot wait to see how FTR gets engaged in the tag team division now that they've lost those belts and they're back on the climb.
I know.
So Hungry Dog is a vicious one, and that's a scary thing to think about when you're dealing with FTR. That said, the team that I feel like, and again, repping SCU tonight, the team that I feel like really needed a showcase tonight was Hager and Jericho. These two guys, honestly, we haven't seen Jericho in action very much as far as this tag team performing.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to see, with all the skits that we've been seeing, I wanted to see these guys get in the ring, and I wanted to see them, kind of win a match and definitively kind of showcase why we love the Inner Circle. It's not just the comedy. We love Jericho for what he does in the ring too. It's not just about these skits. So I thought this was a really pinnacle match for the Inner Circle, something that was really needed, really necessary. It was interesting to see the whole Inner Circle at ringside. I thought that was really interesting to see MJF get involved tonight. What was your thoughts on the match? I know you're, as far as in-ring styles go, you would not be wearing an SCU t-shirt. They're not your favorite tag team. But do you think that the match, when it comes to being, two veterans in Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels, how do you think that they dealt with Jericho and Hager tonight? How do you think the match played out? And really, to me, what does this say focusing on the Inner Circle? Walking away from this match and this segment and these segments that came thereafter, what are your thoughts on the Inner Circle moving forward?
Now, nothing against SCU. They have their place, and unfortunately, I'm not a huge SCU overall fan, but they can put on some good, solid matches. I mean, they were the first tag team champions for a reason, and this really did a great job at strengthening the Inner Circle. What I really loved about this match was that the whole Inner Circle came out together with new merch, a new look, essentially like a true unified. This was like the true first time we saw them essentially like unified, other than all like the skits that we've been seeing, which have been great. And I honestly was a little surprised to see Jake Hager back so soon from his MMA fight, recovering. I don't remember the exact date, but usually those fighters take months and months and months off. And he fought hard tonight and with Jericho. It was a well fought match. And honestly, SCU did a great job entertaining me. And the BME, the best moonsault ever by Christopher Daniels is an impressive move. I love how quick and just boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
And for the Inner Circle to be feuding with SCU and putting them over a little bit, it's okay. It has its place. This match had its place. It's not the best match of the card, but I always love seeing Jericho, and it's great to see the Inner Circle because they're definitely top of my list of most entertaining factions and so many different stories to tell. And for them to be at ringside was an absolute perfect. And then for others to get involved, you got Ortiz to get involved, you have MJF getting involved, and it just builds on next week's card because he used his ring twice, and then randomly the announcers announced that there's the battle royal for the ring, and so that definitely tells me that he's going to be losing the ring because he planted that seed of using it multiple times.
It's come to his, it's been his ace in the sleeve for the last,
You got the Dynamite Diamond Battle Royal.
I like that.
So this is here we go. Let's take a look at this. And
you look at those competitors, man. He's got some fierce competition for this, huh?
I mean, right off the bat, I haven't really been able to see who's all in this, but who do you think is going to win this? Not to get too sidetracked. Like, if you had to say something, give 5 seconds to think about it.
No pressure on me. My early pick would be, I would either say it's going to be Wardlow, which would be interesting because it would kind of be, reverse the story between MJF and Wardlow a little bit. I think that would be really, really cool to change up that dynamic. I would like that. Oh man.
Okay, so all right, you're picking Wardlow. I'm picking Sammy Guevara.
Ooh, that's a good pick.
All right, let's see. But anyways, back to the
match. I like that. Oh man, that's a good pick. Now you got me thinking. That's a really good pick.
They've been planning that
Sammy
seed for
and
a
MJF's
while.
Little feud.
Yeah. They've been planning that seed for a while.
That would be something if MJF's little buddy Sammy got the ring, huh?
That would be great.
Gosh, dude, you got me. I think you're gonna win this one. You're good, SPD. You're good.
It could be totally. I mean, John Silver could win it, and I'd be happy too. So.
Yeah, I think that certainly we just named probably two of the favorites. I know a lot of people are gonna be thinking maybe Hangman Page, but I think that you just mentioned that storyline wise, Sammy makes a lot of sense. And for those of us who are waiting for MJF to start to get his, his comeuppance from Wardlow, maybe Wardlow to get a little bit more shine, that would certainly be an interesting dynamic for MJF to have to be humbled and kind of give his ring to the guy he pays. So I think that would be interesting. But Sammy certainly would be a great dynamic too. Can't wait to see what happens in that one. That's a main event right there. But it's going to be just one of many matches in that show. Cannot wait for Winter is Coming. I can't believe it's next week. It's unbelievable. It's just
I know.
Unbelievable.
Pay-per-view.
That card's going to be stacked beyond belief. For me, this match, yes. I mean, this is, for me, I like SCU. More than anything, I respect them. I watched these guys in TNA, and they did great work back then. Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels in their prime. Some of the better, for guys, when we talk about changing the landscape of American professional wrestling, so often I grew up, watching WWE and WWF at the time, right?
Mhm.
And, growing up on guys like Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior and all those types of guys, that type of physique, right? Christopher Daniels and Frankie Kazarian did a lot of work in America to change what it means to be, as far as what it means to be a professional wrestler, the look. They helped pave the way, and it's not just them. There are other athletes that have helped do that. Chris Jericho being another one, but body style, those guys have become more of the norm. We see way more guys like that aren't the size of a Miro, aren't the size of a Wardlow. More of an everyday regular guy. Not to say Frankie Kazarian, the guy's in phenomenal shape, right? But they've helped transform it, and some of their matches in like over the course of their career, phenomenal and really high flying stuff. So it was nice to see Christopher Daniels break out that best moonsault ever. Really nice. Frankie Kazarian can still go. I mean, that guy.
We'll see next week.
I mean, that dude. He can still hang. I mean, that guy can go. He has the cardio of anybody. Like, he can match anybody in the ring. And I think that Trent Beretta kind of has sort of that same career trajectory, right? Like, just a guy who has like sort of that inner work engine that he can just continue to go, never runs out of fumes, right? So I thought it was a good match. I thought it was interesting. But for me, as an Inner Circle fan, right, you and I have talked a lot about what's gone on with the Inner Circle. I think social media is split, right, on where we're going and them becoming more of a comedy act and things like that. I loved seeing Jericho cut that promo later on where he kind of said, there's no more nonsense. Like, we're coming at it. We're coming out. We're going to put a beating on people again. And we're going to remind people through violence why we are the Inner Circle, why we are the most dominant faction in professional wrestling. I thought that was really, really well done, and it's been needed. I really want to see the Painmaker back. I want to see, especially with the addition of MJF, right? A conniving, cunning, kind of a guy that's easy to hate. I mean, I want to see these guys lean more into being the badasses that we know they are. Obviously keep that humor. I mean, Ortiz throughout that interview, his facial expressions, dude, I was dying. I found myself focused on Ortiz and his facial expressions more than some of the words that were coming out at times. The guy is a star, he clearly knows what he's doing as far as his ability to emote and just capture an audience. He's so freaking funny. But I loved Jericho's promo after this match. Not only did they win, but I think Jericho kind of made a statement coming off the heels of Vegas. Like you talked about, this was the first time that we've seen the Inner Circle, the new Inner Circle, perform together. And it was, I think, Vegas proved to be a bonding experience. And I think that they're going to build off of this, and it would be really great. I'd love to see them make an impact before they ultimately implode, right? We all know it's only a matter of time before something goes wrong and things go off the tracks. But I'd love if they made an impact, and it would make that implosion feel that much more worthwhile. If we're on the cusp of seeing another Jericho title reign or something like that, right? I would be so excited about them actually building towards something again. MJF would also be a great challenger as the world champion, right? We saw it earlier this year.
I know. I wish I was all ready for him to get on the belt too, man. But time and time again, Moxley reels me in and just proves how he is the best in the world, man. He is just phenomenal.
And we're talking now world title, right? I mean, and when it comes to the world championship, it's going to be one of two men that they're going to be facing. It's going to be Kenny Omega or Jon Moxley, and we're going to find out who is the world champion going into Revolution, going into 2021. Who is going to be the AEW champion who leads this company into a brand new year, a year that is going to face a lot of obstacles and a lot of uncertainty? Who is going to be the one? Is it going to be the rock solid, the steady Jon Moxley, who has been the champion all throughout this last year, really has led this company through many challenging times at this point, and has proven time and again, no matter who his challenger is, no matter how big, how bad, how bold, how bad they talk, Moxley has put down challenger after challenger. Is Moxley going to retain against the cleaner? And is he going to put a hurting on him at Winter is Coming next week? Or is Kenny going to respond and bounce back after that beating we saw him take this week?
Oof.
And is he going to come out champion, SPD?
I know. And that was definitely Bonds' biggest moment of the night. And so we'll take a listen to Bonds, and then we'll talk all about the Kenny Omega and the Jon Moxley whole segment there.
All right.
Hey everybody, welcome to Bonds' biggest moment of the week. And man, oh man, we had another packed episode of Dynamite, but next week this might be even better. Jon Moxley got his sweet revenge on Kenny Omega tonight. Even if it's undeserved, we don't know yet, but we're going to see next week, because there's a championship on the line. Winner is coming for Jon Moxley or Kenny Omega, and I can't wait to see it. SPD and Crayfish, I want to hear your thoughts on this segment, and you can read about every segment from this week's Dynamite on my column on the AEW Dynamite Download.com.
Coming off the heels of that, this was an episode that had so much going on. And, I think that the world is buzzing about what's going to happen. Kenny Omega said it really well. The world is buzzing. The world is talking about Kenny Omega again now that he's leaning into being the cleaner. All of a sudden, it's not Jon Moxley on the tip of everybody's tongue. It's Kenny Omega. We cannot stop talking about the cleaner and his transformation into the cleaner. And is this going to be the coronation of the cleaner? Are we going to see him champion cleaner? SPD, what was your take? Do you agree with Bonds that this is the biggest moment of the night?
Not only I think this is the biggest moment of the night, but I think this match is the biggest moment we've had in 2020. I mean, this is, like you said on last week, this is the headline of all headlines of matches. I mean, you have two of the best wrestlers currently that are performing week in and week out in the world going head to head on free TV. This is just mind blowing to me.
I don't know how you don't tune in.
This is mind blowing. And like I said last week as well, I wish there was a longer build, but I'm ready for the match. I mean, anything can happen. Anything's going to happen. And, I love Kenny is so good with his promos, making it so both guys are so good. They're A+.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the thing, man.
It's so tough because,
Kenny is well respected for what he does in the ring. Everybody knows he's Mr. 7-star match. He's the man when it comes to best bout machine, as they call him, right? But for him to more than hold his own against Jon Moxley in a promo war, honest to God, man. I mean, Moxley, let's be real. Moxley is, and you and I have talked about this over and over again on Dynamite Download. Moxley can sell a big match unlike anybody in the business. I mean, that guy knows how to get you hooked in emotionally. He's got you. He knows what he's doing. The guy is amazing at it. He's doing the best work of his career. I mean, he's killing it right now. But for Omega to be able to go toe-to-toe with him and to cut these promos, like, this is a side, honestly, as a Kenny Omega fan, I didn't know he had this in him at points. Like, I am so impressed by his ability to transform like this and to be so clear and definitive in the way he's rolling, man. I'm so stoked for next week. Like you said, I mean, this is a moment that will define AEW going into next year, right? This is going to be that match. If you are a fan of professional wrestling, you have to watch this match because the world champion of this company is going to be determined in this match on live television next week for free. How does it get bigger than that? And honestly, you got two guys who are legitimately top 5 guys in the whole world. I mean, and you can rank them however you want, personal preference, I don't care, right? But when it comes to overall guys, when it comes to in-ring ability to have matches with a variety of different talents, right? That's one of my favorite things in an athlete, in a superstar. If you can have a great match with big, small, experienced, rookie, if you can do that, I got a lot of respect for you. And both these guys can do that. They've proven that time and time again. I'm really intrigued by Omega kind of laying out the gauntlet, really kind of calling out Moxley to maybe be more of a professional wrestler. I really liked him leaning into that. It kind of felt like I got Bret Hart vibes coming from him there. I loved that, like, kind of that old school, like, actually beat me in a wrestling match kind of vibe that I got from Kenny.
Yeah, I totally agree. His first cut promo, and how he's just going on and on, how it's just a long year struggling to get back to the best in the world. And then he's threatening and challenging Jon Moxley's, wrestling ability. And then he throws in that my dad could beat your dad up thing. And I loved that part. And then you're like, oh,
That's
yes, that's
sure.
Kenny. Like, Kenny is still my pick for the Pretty Platinum right here. It is under the tree ready for Kenny's taking. But it's every time. This happened with Lance Archer. This happened with MJF.
I know.
Every time I'm ready for them to take
Trust
it from
me.
Mox just reeling me in.
I know. I've been burnt by that
Yeah.
so many times.
He's so
that
damn
I can't
good.
do it. I can't bet against Mox. I can't do it. If I had to put money on it, even though I think Omega is going to win. It's hard to bet against Jon Moxley, man.
It's hard not to
John
get,
Moxley.
Moxley's rocking the Violent Gentleman shirt, and so am I. I've had this shirt for many, many years.
I love that.
So, Violent Gentleman, hockey right
Yeah.
there. And so it'd be very interesting, you riding this momentum with Kenny. I think you really should into a fresh new year. But we kept having this debate with the last two title defenses, even Eddie Kingston, like, you're going back and forth, and it's just like, it's a 50-50, but I really want Kenny to start this fresh. And then I think you could do one of those Eddie Kingston type of pivots where right away Moxley gets thrown into a feud with whoever attacked him.
Yeah.
And that way
absolutely.
he's still relevant. I think that would be a good thing. I think that's a prediction right there. Whoever attacked Moxley, whether it be a fresh face or someone that, has been kind of silent for a little bit, or even, I don't know, Lance Archer, even, who knows what it is.
I mean,
but
Moxley going around tonight and kind of looking, getting in Kingston's face. I thought that was a great promo,
Yes,
a little segment that worked really, really well.
Mhm.
I loved that. And again, I love how AEW has these characters remember their history with each other. It seems like such a simple thing to ask for,
Yep.
but it's so nice to see them actually interacting and remembering the history and actually playing off of that and rewarding us as fans for caring about the product and following these guys. So I loved that little callback to their championship match. That would make a lot of sense for Mox to pivot. And honestly, man, I want to see Moxley versus Omega 3 already, and 2 hasn't even happened yet. So
It's going to be great.
Don't rush. Like you said, you wish that you would have seen this play like stretched out a little longer.
Right.
Man, I'm already wanting this to go on longer than this. These two it's been such a tease to see them in this program
Mhm.
that I understand where you're coming from. The content is gold. The
Mhm.
content is as good as it gets.
Yep.
And so you don't want it to just be a couple weeks worth of build and then be over with. You want this to go on for months, right? I get it. Absolutely. So, and we'll wrap up the show tonight with Shida versus Anna Jay. And that's really been, for me, this was more of a surprise for me out of the Shida side, right? Anna Jay, yes, she's, she going into this match, she talked about how she's a very different person than she was when Shida fought her the first time. But I think tonight proved that Shida's a very different person than when Anna Jay fought her the first time. I think that Shida is a very different champion than she was back then. There have been times in which, I've had doubts about Shida's championship reign. Does she have the personality? Does she have the character work in order to carry the women's division? And I think that tonight was a step in the right direction as far as Shida showing comfort in her own skin. Shida putting on a great match. Her reaction to Abaddon after the match was genuinely really well done by Shida. It could have been really corny, and it wasn't. She did a great job, I think, portraying that. That's quite the visual there. Definitely odd. For me, fantasy booking this, I'm curious with Anna Jay, the Queen Slayer, losing in the Dark Order. I'd be really intrigued if Abaddon joined the Dark Order. I don't know, man. She's like, there's nobody creepier than that girl. So
Oh, I gotta
I
take
don't
that
know
off.
where
That's
things are
too
going.
scary.
But Abaddon going against Sheeta will be an interesting matchup. And I think it'll be the first time, even though Nyla Rose has challenged several times, I think this will be the first time in which we're going to really see Sheeta shook. I think we got kind of like a teaser of that after the match tonight. Sheeta handled herself really well against Anna Jay. The match was back and forth. It was entertaining, but Anna Jay's not the intimidating presence that Abaddon is. Let's just leave it at that, right? I mean, that is a terrifying visual right there.
Yeah, Abaddon, some of her social media posts that gives me nightmares. She's just so creepy. But anyways,
Yeah,
but
dude.
it's
Yeah.
intriguing. It's very intriguing that she came out. Like we've talked about time and time again, like the whole planting of future storylines. The overall segment of the match I thought was very well done, and I thought it was great because they finally gave a video package for a match that you almost really don't know too much about unless you've really been following and kind of keeping up on things. Like you give this video package, it makes the match so much more meaningful, makes the rivalry so much more meaningful. So often we get these matches, doesn't matter if it's female or the male matches, that you get, you're like, okay, why,
Right.
and then just to throw a 2-minute video package, a 60-second
It
video
helps,
package
right?
helps so much. And I know, limited on time and, doing BTE stuff and all that, like you get some of that, or, dark, you get some of that, but it really is necessary on TV to really establish and make the match, you just to follow it. And during the match, I thought Anna Jay looked better than she has been. She's growing. She's still very green. I like that she was like really playing up to her true heel, and with the Dark Order on the ramp, and then
I gotta
into the
say that I want
chair,
to
the
just
kendo
jumping in really
stick.
quick. I think Anna Jay's character work has been really, really good. I think her
Yeah,
joining the Dark Order was a pivotal point in her career. She's really leaning into it. If you're following her on BTE and on social media, like she's quite funny. Her friendship with Tay Conti is certainly an interesting one, and I think that there are a lot of fans who want to see where that goes. And does it either bring Tay Conti into the Dark Order, or does Tay finally save her friend and get Anna Jay out of the Dark Order? It'll be interesting to see where that goes. But I thought that the character work is really what's got Anna Jay to this opportunity. I think she's shown that, overall she's somebody who feels comfortable on screen now.
mm-hmm.
I think early on in her, when she did fight Sheeta the first time, there was maybe a little bit more uncertainty as to who she was. And I think
Right.
I think that video package, like you talked about, did such a nice job of cementing Anna Jay where she's coming from and why she's different and the progression she's made in her career since the first time they fought, and then countering it with Sheeta kind of saying, I don't need a group behind me. I can stand on my own 2 feet, and you'll never truly be the person that you want, that you can be, until you venture out on your own and prove it yourself. So I feel like Sheeta did a great job tonight. It was one of the first times in which we really got a chance to see or hear from her in a segment like that. And I think that they should do more of those with Sheeta. I think that was a really well played presentation of her, rather than throwing her on the spot and having her cut a live promo.
True.
I thought that was a really great way of utilizing Sheeta's strengths, and it presented her very well to the audience.
Yeah, I agree with that. For the segment, like I said, the segment was great, but unfortunately,
does it get an elite or delete out of you? That's the question.
The match itself gets a delete from me.
Yeah.
I'm keeping my standards very high, like I have been. And it's extremely hard, if almost impossible, to follow Serena and Thunder from last week in terms of you're doing, one match to one match comparison, because you only get one match per Dynamite essentially at this point. But the segment I really liked, and I thought it was a strong segment of character building, but the match itself, I have to give it a delete, sadly.
I feel bad in the sense that, I gave Jericho Hager versus SCU an elite, and honestly, I think that if we're just judging a match, I think that
Right.
Sheeta versus Anna Jay was a better match than that match. Being honest, I
Is it
thought
an elite from you?
well, I feel like a hypocrite giving it a delete, but that was my take it was the delete just because in the end, I thought that Anna Jay did not come off looking like a legitimate title contender, and I was
Yeah.
kind of hoping for that. I hate saying that because I was
Right.
rooting for that to happen tonight. I enjoyed the Dark Order kind of being up on the ramp, rooting
Oh yeah,
on.
that was great.
And I've loved that interaction. If you follow all those people on social media, it's so fun seeing them kind of rooting each other on and interacting with each other. The Dark Order is really great follow. But I think it was more of the same out of the Dark Order and then just more losing.
Sadly.
They spent so much time building the Dark Order up as something credible. When was the last time we saw the Dark Order get a win on television?
I know. It
I'll
was,
wait.
it was Orange Cassidy with Brody Lee.
I mean, that's it. So if the point of all these segments is to prove how much the Dark Order needs Brody back,
Right.
I get it. And maybe that's the long story that they're telling here.
Right.
But in a capsule, just watching this match in and of itself, I was hoping that Anna Jay would be presented or come off a little stronger. I didn't feel like she was presented in a way that kind of made me feel like she was going to beat Sheeta at any point in time in that match. That said, Sheeta's a very dominant champion, right? I mean, Sheeta has put down she's put down, we're big fans of Thunder Rosa. She's beat Thunder Rosa. She's beat Nyla Rose. I mean, Sheeta is a legit champ in this company.
Sure.
So it's not throwing shade at Anna Jay.
No.
I just feel like the match itself didn't deliver what I thought that it was going to try to do. And in that regard, I have to give it a delete. I do think that the overall, focusing only on Sheeta and the world championship.
Yeah.
I do think that Sheeta is going in the right direction as far as her character work, as far as her ability to, I think she's always been able to put on great matches, right? But her ability to engage with other characters is being tested. I am intrigued by how things will go with Abaddon.
Very intriguing.
Neither one of them is known as a talker. So that will be an interesting way. How does AEW build a feud where neither character is really strong promo? So they both rely more on like their overall mystique or their kind of presence, not necessarily promo work. So that'll be an interesting way in which AEW showcases a new form of storytelling. So I'm intrigued by that, but not enough to say that I would give it an elite on a show that was incredibly, incredibly busy and incredibly, incredibly entertaining. It flew by.
I know.
This one didn't measure up for me.
I agree, sadly.
And that's the thing, right? Is that this show was stacked from top to bottom. And it was surprisingly jam-packed, right? They fit segments in that we didn't expect. The Taz and Cody thing came out of nowhere. I mean, there was stuff on this show that was just surprise after surprise after surprise. So it's hard this week picking a top performer, SPD. Did you struggle as much as I did? Who was your top performer of the week?
I did struggle, and it could have been 10 different people for 10 different reasons, but I have to give my top performer to John Silver, man.
Wow.
Yes. Johnny Hungy. So
that's
reason
awesome.
being, as like I talked about earlier, is, being a huge, I hate to cross compare brands, but Daniel Bryan fan, I saw a lot of that kind of style in him with those aggressive kicks and just like, that mean streak he can go on. And he's very strong in the ring. He's very underrated, I feel like, too. And, I'm happy to see him on TV. And he's just silver equals gold to me. And I think he's got a bright future on many different platforms and levels. And he is my top performer of the night.
I can't argue with that. The character work that John Silver's putting in is truly star-making stuff. I mean, we've talked about it at length. The guy is phenomenal at entertaining people. He's willing to do anything it takes to put on a show, put a smile on somebody's face. I think that that's a rare thing in today's day and age.
Yeah.
And Daniel Bryan being your all-time favorite wrestler, that speaks a lot. That speaks very high praise. The guy certainly is, he surprises you in the ring. Yes, he's obviously strong. Yeah, he's got the meat.
The meat man.
He's got some high flying stuff too. I mean, he's got a really nice blend. His offense is pretty entertaining. Great pick by you. For me, I'm going back to my roots, man. It's Chris Jericho. It was so nice to see this side of Jericho come out tonight. I've enjoyed some of the humor and some of the fun that we've experienced with Jericho over the last few months. Obviously, the Orange Cassidy feud was quite a long time in that, and it was always funny and entertaining. And we had to see Jericho take a bath in some orange juice and champagne. Bubbly. Sorry, I should have. A
little bit of the bubbly.
Yeah, what was I thinking? I said champagne. That was wrong. But I loved seeing Jericho and Hager go out there and get a nice clean win, clean win against SCU, and I loved the overall intensity that I got out of the Inner Circle. Right, obviously it's really fun and it's entertaining to see these guys joke around and have a good time and have some of the antics that we've seen of late with MJF, but just given the amount of talent that is in that group. From the get-go, the Inner Circle has been my favorite, as far as the stable in all of AEW.
Yeah.
For them the amount of talent that this group has, for them to finally go at it and be serious again, and to really, I think, showcase that they're phenomenal wrestlers, and there's something that it's very not that long ago when Jericho was our world champion.
Yeah. True.
There is a side to Jericho and the Inner Circle that should be feared. If we forget, go back and watch, Trent and Chuck Taylor, the best friends, go against Santana and Ortiz in that street fight, right? In that parking lot brawl, right? These guys, Jake Hager, right? Jake Hager's a legit MMA badass. Now, how often do we talk about Wardlow on this show, and what a muscle-bound badass he is, right? That dude is a freak of nature and a talent that truly is on the rise.
Muscle
right?
tits.
Not to mention, big muscle tits. Not to mention MJF, right? Who is one of the more conniving, stab you in the back type of heels that we have not seen in a long time. Somebody who seems to genuinely enjoy seeing other people fail. So I loved seeing the Inner Circle tonight come back and kind of make a statement fresh off the heels of Vegas. They must have got all the fun out of them at Vegas, and now that they're ready, now that they got all the partying out of them, they're ready to take business seriously. I love that. I love seeing that side of the Inner Circle. I'd love to see that going forward. These guys are incredible on the screen. Anytime that you get to put them on screen, I'm all for it. They're entertaining as hell, but it was a good reminder tonight, I think, that they can still get it done in the ring.
Yeah, and it's great now that Jericho's going to have a singles match next week too. So we're going to see more of the Inner Circle.
That's even better. Great segue there, SPD. Next week's show is one that everyone call your mom, call your dad, call your best friend, call the person you haven't talked to in weeks. Tell them to tune in to Dynamite next week. This is the episode of all episodes. You have Jon Moxley going against Kenny Omega in an AEW World Championship match on TNT television, guys. This is unbelievable.
Mind-blowing.
This is the match of all matches. You have to tune in for that alone. Beyond that, you get a grudge match where Cody Rhodes, the backbone of AEW, teams up with the new face of TNT television, of AEW. That is our TNT champion, Darby Allin. And you got them going up against the powerhouse Willie Hobbs and Ricky Starks, who again cut a fire promo tonight.
Did he ever? Yeah.
I think that they're leaning into him being a star, man. You see that visual of him standing in front of Hobbs and Cage Woo! Next week's
Yeah,
match
he's a
is going to be
star.
something else. And then we got the Dynamite Dozen Battle Royal.
Yes.
MJF is defending his ring in that Battle Royal. That alone, like we talked about, that ring has played a role in so many matches throughout 2020. That is the prized possession of MJF. I can't wait to see what happens in that one. We have so many talented people in that match. So
Anything can happen. Yeah, it is so crazy. Anything can happen. I mean, you talk about those top 2 matches could be the whole card, and I'd be happy. And then you have this battle royal, which you got Wardlow winning. I got Sammy Guevara winning, and then you have Jericho in action and Britt Baker in action. I mean, this card is stacked to the brim. It is overflowing with talent, overflowing with big matches.
I cannot wait. You just mentioned it. Chris Jericho, my top performer, going to be live in action next week against Frankie Kazarian, who, again, I talked about earlier on in our show. That guy can go. Yeah. Frankie Kazarian has an engine that never stops. So that match should absolutely be entertaining. We've seen Layla Hirsch go head-to-head against Thunder Rosa. Layla Hirsch, that girl is angry.
Yeah, she's a tough little competitor.
Fighter, man. That girl can throw people around. So the dentist is in store for a fight for her life because Layla Hirsch is nothing to be messed with. I cannot wait. I'm a big Britt Baker fan too. It's going to be a great show next week, guys. You have to tune in. Please get those eyes on the television. It's going to be great. Make sure you click, speaking of eyes on the product, click that subscribe now button. Make sure you're tuning in, getting those notifications. Because again, even though you follow us on AEW Dynamite DL on Twitter, and even though you follow us on Dynamite Download at Instagram, you do want to get those live updates when we post this content, because SPD is posting clips. He's posting beautiful segments left and right on YouTube. Our YouTube page is loaded with great content. You want to check that out. And by subscribing now, you'll get notified. You will be in the know when it comes to AEW. For this week's episode of Dynamite Download, I'm Crayfish. I'm signing out. SPD, go ahead and send us off into the Winter is Coming episode next week, because I know you are geeked.
I cannot wait. It is going to be jam-packed, and we are going to be talking probably for 4 hours next week, because it is going to be so filled with so many different things going ahead into the new year of 2021. And great talking to you guys. We'll talk to you guys all online all week, and thanks for tuning in.